Hi everyone, this is Julianne Victoria of Through the Peacock's Eyes. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the 2021 Year Ahead Vedic Astrology readings. These readings will be based on your Vedic Astrology ascendant or moon sign. You can listen to both to kind of get a fuller picture of the year ahead. If you don't know your Vedic Astrology ascendant or moon sign, you can Google search a free online Vedic Astrology calculator and you should be able to get those there. Make sure it says it is Vedic Astrology or Indian Astrology or Sidereal Astrology so you can get the correct signs. And they'll likely to be a sign different than your Western astrology ones, though there is a little overlap in there as well. Now, during these videos, I may reference a few of the things, the books, the decks I've created that I created to help other people learn Vedic astrology. The first one is my book, Shedding Light on Jyotisha, Vedic Astrology for Beginners, and I have a video or two on my channel where I talk about that a little bit more in depth, but the links are all down below in the description box if you're interested in checking that out. I also have a Vedic Astrology Oracle and the Vedic Astrology Study Deck, which would be a great tool to learn Vedic astrology. I also have a course, Shedding Light on Your Karma and Dharma in Vedic Astrology. It's a mini course. It's about an hour and a half long. Bunch of little videos broken up, and it's only $11. Again, the link is below if you want to check that out to start to learn how to look at your chart and look at your karma and dharma. Like, why are you here? What are you here to do? What are you here to learn? How are you here to grow? I will be hopefully soon in the new year have my next course, which I go through the nakshatras in Vedic astrology. Journey through the nakshatras is probably the title. I haven't officiated that yet. So hopefully that will be out soon or in the early part of 2021. And if you're interested in a reading for the year ahead, Vedic astrology, I also do Western astrology, tarot readings. Those you can purchase on my website. I will be reopening readings November 22nd or so. I've been closed for a while to focus on my book. So you can sign up for my newsletter to be notified or just check back to my website, juliannevictoria.com. Again, links are all below if you want to book a reading with me or schedule a recorded reading for the year ahead for you. Okay, all that being said, let's move on to your horoscope for the year ahead. The charts you will see will be charts laid out based on your ascendant or moon sign. So you, the viewer, can have a clearer understanding of where the transits are as the year begins and how that lays out for you for the year ahead. All right, thank you everyone and enjoy your reading. Hi Aries, welcome to your 2021 Year Ahead Vedic Astrology reading or horoscope. So I have a chart here with where the planets are on January 1st, and this is how they would overlay on your chart. As you see, I have Aries here in for the first house. And you can listen to this, as I mentioned in the intro, for your ascendant and or your moon sign in Vedic astrology. So let's start here with your first house, Aries, because in the first house, as the year begins on January 1st, we have Mars, your ruler. This is like starting the year off with a, not so much a bang, but a pow. Like a burst of energy. Mars, your ruler in your own sign gives you, especially because it's Mars, great excitement and power and energy and drive and passion to basically put yourself out there. First house is the house of the self, the individual. So for most Aries out there, of course, this depends on how it lays on your natal chart and what might be going on there. But for many Aries out there, like you're starting off 2021 feeling really good, feeling energized, feeling excited for the year ahead. And a lot of that is probably in contrast to what has been going on in 2020 globally with the pandemic and possibly personally as well. So a lot of energy here. Now looking this as a placement that sort of sets up for the year ahead, having Mars in your first house is a strong indicator that you want to make sure you take care of your physical self. So the first house is the self, the individual identity, but also the physical form that you are born into. And Mars as your ruler but 2 as the ruler of sports and athletics and activities. This placement here says, this year ahead, if you're not someone who exercises regularly, or it was lessened in 2020 because of lockdowns and such, it's really saying, get your body moving this year of 2021. Some of you might have the motivation and the drive and passion to become more athletic, or take up a sport for a hobby, or get competitive in some way in this year ahead. But it's like you want to move your body, you want to get your blood pumping. Okay, let's move on. Let's go over here to where we have Jupiter and Saturn conjoined. And as you can see, as the year begins, they're within about 1 degree. They're very conjoined here in the sign of Capricorn. So as I've said over the past year or so, with the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction in Capricorn, because they're doing this dance over the course of a couple years. And I did make a video where I talk about the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction, and I give dates for both the Western astrology and Vedic astrology in that video. And I'll pin that to the top of the comments for you so you can check it out if you're interested. But in this combination in Capricorn, Saturn has the upper hand. And that is because Saturn rules Capricorn. It's his happiest placement, his strongest placement, his most solid placement. This is your 10th house. 10th house is house of career. And as an Aries, with Capricorn being your 10th house, you have a natural tendency to work hard in your career, but that is enhanced with the Saturn transit here. Now, Saturn will be here through all of 2021 and into 2022. That means long days, long work hours, hard work. For some, it may be like physical labor in combination with the Mars on your ascendant with work, being very active in your work. It's like hunkering down, nose to the grindstone, to build, to enhance, to lay foundations for your career that you want to build upon years and years to come. Saturn likes things that will last long term. So this is actually really great for your career. And then when Saturn and when Jupiter are in Aquarius in the future, and I'll talk about Jupiter in a moment, you really start to see the gains of this hard work. Not that you won't see it before. It depends on each Aries out there, of course. So then we have Jupiter here. So Saturn is in his own sign here in Capricorn. Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn. So Jupiter's energy is weakened. If you butt heads with the Saturn energy, because Saturn's energy requires you to be patient, to put your nose to the grindstone, to do the hard work, even if you're not seeing any results for a year or two, and that won't be for everyone, of course. It's perseverance, but it's like work. Usually you want to work hard, especially when it's in the 10th house, and Capricorn is your 10th house in your natal chart. So if you fight that, if you try to rush things, if you try to make things happen, if you try to build something on a rocky or non-existent foundation, the Jupiter energy doesn't have room to grow. It doesn't have room to bring you growth and expansion in your career, to bring you his good luck. If you work with the Saturn energy, you be patient, you work hard, you accept any challenges and obstacles that come as part of the process, then Jupiter's energy has freedom to bring in the expansion and growth that you want. So one way to sum this up is if you work really hard in your career and you don't rush anything, your career is going to grow tremendously. You fight that, the growth is going to be very, very limited. Okay. So Jupiter is here in Capricorn until the middle of April, and then he moves into Aquarius until September, and then he's back into Capricorn until the end of November, and then back in Aquarius in December 2021 into 2022. So when those times when Jupiter is in Aquarius this coming year, and then beyond, he has much more flexibility and ease of expression. Now, Saturn rules Aquarius as well as Capricorn in Vedic astrology, but Jupiter is not debilitated here. He's freer. Aquarius is an air sign. It's more open. It's not so hard and solid and maybe stubborn as Capricorn energy. It's much more open. So mid-April to September, you might experience, because, excuse me, talking a lot, my throat's itching. 11th house is gains from your career, as well as your network and your social life. So when Jupiter's here, you can experience some of the gains of this hard work, which may be financial gains. It may be networking gains. It may be sort of like marketing gains. It could be friends and acquaintances you make from your work, from your career path. It's going to play out different for each Aries out there. But overall, again, if you're working with this energy, and do check out that video where I talk about working with those energies together, because this can be like the yin and yang coming together, or it could be like butting heads, and that's where our free will comes in. But if you work with this energy as best you can, then again, like parts of this year, 2022, even 2023, you might experience some tremendous gains from your career, from what you're working on this year of 2021, and even possibly a little bit of 2020 as well. Okay, let's move on to the nodes. Let me take a sip of water here. Okay, so we have the nodes. They're always opposite each other in your 2nd and 8th house axis here, Aries. Here we have Rahu, or the North Node, if you're coming from a Western astrology perspective, in your 2nd house of gains in the sign of Taurus. So Rahu, motivation, ambition, the head of the snake. There can be, the negative side is illusion, and there's always positive and negative for every sign, every planet, every house. But I'm not feeling a whole lot of that here. This motivation, this drive of Rahu here in your 2nd house, I feel is part of it's part of the whole dynamic of this nose to the grindstone. I want to work hard. I want to expand my career. You may not, again, with this combination, see the gains of that right away or for a while, but it's like hard work, and you're determined with Rahu here in the 2nd to bring in financial gains. It's also house of possessions, to have more stuff, and it's sign of Taurus, to have nice things or nicer clothes, or, you know, to get rid of that old falling apart furniture and get new stuff. So there's this strong, this is a year, Aries, of career and financial gain, or at least tremendous focus on that, and the gains will come this year or in the few years to come. And it doesn't mean it like disappears after that, of course, but this is the year of really focusing on that. And you have the energy. Okay, so opposite, we have Ketu, or South Node from the Western perspective, in Scorpio in the 8th house, conjoined Venus here, and Venus rules Taurus. What I'm feeling with the Ketu energy for all of these general 2021 readings is Ketu is strongly representing what we're coming out of, or what we're learning from what we lost in 2020. Now, in the natal chart, Ketu represents past karma, past lives, spiritual seeking. Here for you, Aries, it's really like, okay, what did I want to say give up, let go, or possibly lose in the past, specifically 2020? And how has that triggered 8th house energy? Great transformation for me and my life. What hasn't opened up? Because I feel like it's opened up this energy to come out for you in 2021. And Venus here, what beautiful things does my life now have space for because of what I let go of, gave away, or lost in the past year? It's like Venus, she's like the gains out of all this loss and separation. And she rules Taurus, where Rahu is. So there's a lot of gain. I want to say there's a lot of gains coming for you in 2021, Aries. Material, financial, but also in your sense of self and what you want and are determined to do and accomplish in the future. Okay. Oh, I should mention, because I mentioned this in the other videos, because someone will mention it in the comments if I don't. Rahu and Ketu on this Taurus and Scorpio axis, in many sources are considered exalted, and other sources they're considered debilitated. Some people say that happens in Sagittarius and Gemini. I tend to see Rahu and Ketu very strong wherever they are, maybe slightly stronger here on this axis, whichever position they are in. But I don't, because there's a lot of discrepancy there, I don't tend to follow the exaltation and debilitation of Rahu and Ketu, because they're the karmic axis. They're really strong anyway, wherever they are. Okay, just want to point that out because I'm sure someone would mention it. What else have we here? So over here in your 9th house of spirituality, religion, life philosophy, politics, government, higher education, publication, and so on. I see it mostly as a spiritual religious house and philosophical house. It's also a house of foreign travel. We have the Sun and Mercury here together, and they're usually pretty close to each other because they're close up in the heavens, in the sky. In these 2021 readings, I'm feeling the Sun very strongly as where we feel our greatest joy and happiness this year in 2021. Your 9th house is the sign of Sagittarius, the natural placement for Sagittarius is 9th house. And the foreign travel element is coming in for those Aries who love to travel, who have been delayed on traveling. I feel this year there's greater opportunity for it, so that's a good sign. Basically, what I've felt in all these readings so far is that there will be an improvement with the pandemic in the next year. But you're going to be so happy when you get to travel, possibly travel for spiritual or religious purposes. And I'm also getting like the spiritual element, being free, and I want to say it that way, feeling free, or maybe because you have all this energy and you're feeling very empowered, you're coming into the year with a pow, really confident and excited to pursue your spiritual or religious beliefs, practices, and I want to say convictions for some of you. And that may involve travel with that. Mercury here brings in the intellectual element. So some of you Aries, and this is where I'm kind of getting some of the higher education as well as politics, government energy. Those of you who want to go back to school or who are in school, college, university. This includes higher spiritual education, take a certification course, expand your education somehow. Mercury's energy here is very supportive of it, but I am giving like some of you wanting to study government and politics. That's coming in. As a house of publication with Mercury here, that's a good sign for those who want to write and publish something or do a talk and publish something. But it's like your work, it's your doing. For the most part, it feels like it's your doing here. Though that doesn't rule out, a publisher or someone else taking on your work and publishing it. But all those things, one of them, two of them, a whole combination of it is where your greatest joy comes from this year, Aries. Not that other things don't, but it's very strong there. And I just want to point out, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius and he's here, that your religious, your spiritual beliefs, and again, I want to use the word convictions, which I don't often use, are influencing and maybe guiding your career path in some way, or how you go about your hard work in your career this year, and probably 2022, but that would be a different chart for that year. Okay. And lastly, we have the moon here in her own sign of Cancer in your 4th house of home, family, property. strong emotional energy here. So strong. It's also, I want to point out, fourth house is house of mother, as well as ancestors and past lives. But moon also represents mother, as does Cancer. So there might be a strong and emotional development with your mother. If you're separated from your mother in some way, for whatever reason, there might be a, I don't want to say rekindling, but I want to say a renewal of emotional connection, even if your mother is in spirit. I feel that energy coming through. For those of you who have a family or thinking of starting a family, this is great energy for that, especially if you're a female Aries. It could play out with just a lot of emotions pouring out in the home or among family members as well. And what that means in particular really is going to depend on your own natal chart. But what I'm mostly feeling is strong emotional connections and a lot of mother energy. So yeah, deepening a connection with your mother, or you becoming a mother or as a mother. See how that plays out. That's going to be different for each person, of course. Okay, Aries, that is your 2021 year ahead Vedic astrology overview. Or you can even say, like, I kind of see these as like previews for the year ahead. Share this with other Aries that you think would be interested. Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing, and I'll see you back here soon.